But I was gonna ask about her friend Gemma and like kind of like what that symbolized for her, because you could kind of see, and I feel like the movie did enough to just kind of like drop subtle hints that she probably wasn't the best person prior to sort of everything that was going on. As much as you're like rooting for her, there is like subtle like notes, so you know that she's like, you know, fell out with like this like one person that she actually like really cares about. It's kind of like ties back into the point that I was talking about, like her sort of, kind of like room being sort of like an isolation, like almost like, I wouldn't say it's like her safe space or whatever, but it was like just like a space which was like separate from the outside world, and you could see that in her, well, again, we don't know what was real and what wasn't, but in her mind, the only person that she kind of like allowed into that space, or sort of like one of like two people that is actually sets foot into that hotel room, is her best friend Gemma, who she kind of like is able to confide in and sort of is able to kind of like talk about whatever, but for whatever reason has had a falling out, maybe because, you know, for whatever
I thought
reason
it was pretty clear in several instances. We see her chat history, right? Or at least like the last interaction she had with Gemma a year ago. And I think it's very clear that this Skye we see is not the Skye from a year ago. She genuinely hit rock bottom, and she genuinely is trying to be better. And Gemma is the one person who's not impressed by her fame. And so she's the only genuine person she's ever known. I think it's pretty clear that they were good friends before Skye got famous.
Yeah.
And she's probably the only one who stuck around and the only one who did not turn into a grifter. It's just kind of my reading of it. And so when she lost Gemma as a friend, that's kind of the ultimate indictment of old Skye. And so getting Gemma's forgiveness is ultimately the validation of everything Skye is trying to do, right? She's trying to move on. She's trying to start a new chapter. She's trying to be a better person. And Gemma's forgiveness, which she apparently gets early on, is kind of proof that her efforts are sincere and worthwhile and successful. Mm-hmm. And that is why the demon fakes that whole chapter, right? Where the demon fakes Gemma showing up and forgiving her, and they start a new chapter together. And then the demon pulls the rug away, and turns out that, this entire thing, like you've allowed yourself to be attached to somebody again, and it wasn't real. Every validation, every reaffirmation you've gotten in the past week has been fake. And you've got nothing, and the person you thought was your one anchor is still thinks you are an asshole.